all this week we're coming to you from Niagara Falls, one of Canada's most scenic destinations. We're sharing stories of God at work in the lives and hearts of Canadians across the nation. It's Canada like you've never seen it before. Are you ready? It is 100 Huntley Street on the road all this week across Canada. We are going to Vancouver. We're going to Alberta. We're going to Ontario. We're going to Nova Scotia, Newfoundland and Labrador. We're taking you all across Canada to see what God is doing, and that is all thanks to your support. And we want to say a special thank you to Deeks Insurance. That's right. Thank you, Deeks Insurance. Well, we are Canada's home for hope, and here we are in Niagara Falls, one of the wonders of North America. Now, Cheryl, behind us there, we were talking about this, how there are 6 million cubic feet of water going over the falls every single minute, and it's supplying electricity to lots of parts of this region. Yeah. It's an incredible feat, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love to ride my bike down here. There's a path all the way to Niagara on the Lake and then Fort Erie, and the natural wonder is absolutely amazing. I mean, Canada is beautiful, and one of the things that we love, which is why we're so excited today, is getting out of the studio, and we love meeting our friends and 100 Huntley Street family. It really does make all the difference to see people face to face and give them a big hug. Oh, a big hug. Oh my goodness, I love that. Well, all this week we will be featuring the best of 100 Huntley Street across the road across Canada, and we're going to be showing you all of the different events that we've done. We've gone to see the Puffins on the Atlantic Ocean. Jig's Dinner in Newfoundland. You and I got to go to Halifax together. Rodeo. The rodeo in Alberta. Western wear in your future. Yeah, there is. Well, we're going to start on the East Coast. And Lara, you and I have both experienced the incredible warmth of Maritimers. Yes. And our own Gregory Thomas Howes went there to find out what makes Maritimers so different in their own words.
The East Coast, the land, the water, the people, where Rick Mercer is the unofficial Prime Minister of the Maritimes. It's almost a place where one can grow and learn and rediscover themselves. And that got me thinking, what could the rest of Canada learn about this particular part of our country? Let's find out.
Albert Mills.
Albert Mills, nice to meet you. I'm Greg.
Good.
So what is it about the Maritimes or the Maritimes people that the rest of Canada should know? Is there anything unique or special?
Probably, if you ask a favor of them, they'll probably oblige like I'm doing right now for yourself.
So sweet of you. Thank you so much, man.
Why, thank you.
We're closer to one another. Maybe not tied up in the daily rat race so much.
Very beautiful, close to the ocean, and it's just a different feel than a big city.
What is it about Halifax and the Maritimers and the land that the rest of Canada should know?
We're welcoming, we're inviting, we know how to have fun. We love a good disaster. We've had the Halifax explosion, Hurricane Juan, White Juan, the crane collapse. We handled it all.
Halifax, we love a good disaster.
That was awesome, Greg. I love that. We love a good disaster. Yeah. Well, we love Maritimers. I don't know about the disaster part, but the friendly part. Yes. Okay, so the first time that I went with 100 Huntley Street to the Maritimes, never been before, I said to my cameraman, I'm just going to be like 2 minutes and I'm going to get directions from this store. I came back like 20, 30 minutes later. He was like, what happened? I said, they were so friendly. I didn't know how to get out of the conversation. Really, I didn't even know. And Lara, like people across Canada, the Maritimes especially, like, oh my gosh, the friendliest people in Canada. I know. When we went to Newfoundland and Labrador, I kept saying that my heart grew, 3 sizes. I felt like the Grinch who changed. But no, I'm joking. You've never been the Grinch. Yeah, no, never. That's true. Well, every time we get to go on 100 Huntley Street on the road across Canada, it's getting like a front row seat of what God is doing in the lives of Canadians. And Gregory Thomas Howes is with us to talk about how he goes on these journeys with us. Greg, what is your favorite place that you visited as part of 100? That's hard, isn't it?
It is hard because every place is unique. But I will say this: like it is true that everyone is friendly and kind, and actually everyone kind of wants to talk. Like everyone wants to engage, everyone wants to share, everyone wants to share their culture or something unique about where they live or their province or their city or their town. But it's just that initial starting that conversation. So when we're out there with the Huntley Street, I get to actually get out there, well, we all do, and talk with people across Canada. And once you get that ball rolling, everyone is more than happy to share a story or a funny, and a great sense of humor, especially out east.
Well, you do a great job, Greg. We love it. There is more 100 Huntley Street on the road coming up right now.
Huntley on the Road is brought to you in part by Deeks Insurance, where family matters. Now offering exclusive home and auto discounts for members of Crossroads. To learn more, contact the Deeks team today. Call or visit deeksinsurance.ca.
All this week on 100 Huntley Street, we're capturing powerful stories from across the nation and sharing how God is moving in the hearts of Canadians.
You are not going to want to miss a single moment. It is Canada like you have never seen it before.
Yeah, can I get a meal from my friend?
Souls Harbor Rescue Mission has been feeding the vulnerable and homeless in downtown Halifax for 9 years, now serving 60,000 hot meals per year, or more than 160 a day. The pioneering days for the rescue mission weren't so easy.
Well, we started out with a soup kitchen, and I mean, it was small. We had a few borrowed card tables and folding chairs. The first day, I think we served hot dogs, a soup, and one pie to share between everybody. So we cut this giant pie into 18 pieces.
Founders Michelle and Ken Porter also started a similar mission in Regina, Saskatchewan 20 years ago, which grew to not only feed 300 people, but also house 100 and provide a full continuum of care services. It was during a visit to Halifax and seeing the need here that they decided to pack up all their belongings and take another leap of faith.
Sold everything we had, moved to a place we didn't know anyone, and started a ministry. Took 9 months to find a building. We worked full-time for Souls Harbor to make it what it is today for 2 years. The mission helped us with groceries and rent, and that was it.
The positive impact on the community has been immediate.
Even other charities in town, they come to us and say, the word on the street is that you're a place of love. You know people by their name, you love people, and we just do that by being open a little bit longer than a traditional soup kitchen, by providing a beautiful atmosphere to eat. You know, homelessness is not because people don't have a home. It's because they have life-controlling problems. They may struggle with addiction. They may have a mental illness. They may have things in their past that are creating a type of PTSD. There's a lot of abuse in Nova Scotia. Some of the women have been trafficked. When your life has been ripped apart like that, you can't just suddenly be normal, forget it ever existed. You need to go to a place where you can be safe and talk about those things, and the healing begins with conversation. Ken and I were just at the drugstore picking up something on the way home, and he saw a lady that he knew, and she waved to him, and he rolled down the window, and he says, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? She said, well, since you helped me at the drop-in center, I was able to find a job. I got my kids back, and now I'm getting emotional because it was like a changed life that we didn't even know. You know, you come every day, you serve a meal, you get to know someone, you know their name, and even the smallest things can provide big impact in a person's life.
The reach of Souls Harbor has expanded to 3 drop-in centers within Nova Scotia and the opening of a 17,000-foot thrift store where proceeds go to support the rescue mission.
One of the great things about the thrift store is that we're going to be able to employ people who have really come in with nothing and end up working, employed, able to hold down a job and then give back to their communities.
Well, the only one that I really know here is you.
TJ is another example of someone whose story has been changed by coming to Souls Harbor.
It gave me opportunities that were always out of reach for me. I try to talk about it without getting emotional because Michelle took a chance by giving me a job. She barely knew who I was, and she gave me opportunities to be able to welcome God back into my life. That being around these people was a big influence on me, and it showed me that there was more out there for me and for my family, and I took that opportunity and ran with it. Very grateful, very humble, and I can't thank them enough for believing in me.
I think for having only been here for 9 years and the fact that we've now grown to 4 locations and 30 staff, I feel like the Lord blesses those who take care of the poor. And it's not just Ken and Michelle and Greg and TJ. It's the community that has rallied behind us, you know, providing that $3.11 for one hot meal. It takes a village. That's really the bottom line, and I'm just so grateful that God brought us to a place where He knew that people would just come and support us in that way.
Souls Harbor is different. It's a different environment. It's unlike any other organization I've ever seen. It's not just a job, and it's not just a drop-in center. It's not just a thrift store. The atmosphere is different. The people are different. What we stand for is very real. It's a very special place.
Wow, Cheryl, what a heartwarming Canadian ministry. Souls Harbor is changing lives. And I was so honored, and so were you, to go and have a meal with them, actually. So we were invited to dinner. That's right. It was delicious. We had wonderful conversations with the community, and the food was so good.
And speaking of food, now I hear that one of your favorite things in Newfoundland was food. And I have to say, you guys have amazing food. Like, okay, scrunchions, deep fried bacon. Like, is bacon not bad enough on its own? But it was delicious. And then mess was like fries and gravy and stuffing and hot dogs. I don't even know what was in there. Just a pile of food. It was so good.
Well, I just, when we were in Newfoundland, loved eating Toutons, which is a lovely fried dough. And I tried purity syrup. It's so sweet. And then, of course, lots of pea soup. And we had a jigs dinner. But we also got to go to a kitchen party. And you know about those kitchen parties, right, Cheryl?
Yeah, I've been to a Cayley in Prince Edward Island, which is more Scottish, but kind of the same idea. Music, food, people, community. Absolutely amazing.
Well, Bethany Church in Catalina in Newfoundland welcomed us to their kitchen party, and we want to show you all the fun we had.
There was laughter and joy on that fine summer's evening as the children all waited at the old village hall.
Tell us a little bit about what a kitchen party is.
Well, a kitchen party is a good time.
It certainly is.
We just get together, the entertainers get together and just sing and play music, and just people come out and enjoy it. Some people will dance to it, sing to it.
Prompted a shy little fellow to say, let's ask my grandpa to play us some music, 'cause often I've heard his accordion play.
I just enjoyed the fellowship. I really enjoy the entertainers, because the entertainers is such beautiful people. They're always there for to help someone out, right?
I love that. You know, this reminds me of the heart of Jesus, just being with people, serving people, enjoying fellowship with each other.
I live 3.5 hours away from here.
Okay.
I got off work this evening, and we came out here and wanted to get here in time, knowing you would be here as well. But we do come out frequently because it's such a good time of just... Yep, go ahead.
And the lucky winner is number 74.
What did you say to me?
She won. Kathy. Yay, Kathy.
Thank you very much. I'm going to a shower tomorrow, a wedding shower, so I think that's going to be my present to bring.
Wow. And I think this is another reason why kitchen parties are so great.
So much fun.
What is on your heart for Newfoundland, and what's God telling you that Canadians can pray for Newfoundland?
For Newfoundland, I think we need to hold on to our roots, because we always have the ability to not judge and to welcome. And I'd like to see that stay. With the world changing, we need a lot more of that. Just accepting people for who they are and treating people the way they deserve to be treated, and love everyone the way God wants us to. That's what I would pray for.
That's beautiful. I love that, Kathy. We're going to be praying for that. We're going to invite all the viewers to pray for that.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to meet you.
Got to meet you. Really, it was really good.
If shyness or low self-esteem has ever held you back from living your best life, then my next conversation is just for you. Joining me now for 100 Huntley Street on the road in Newfoundland and Labrador is Mike Freak. He is the lead pastor of Evangel Pentecostal Community Church in Gander. He is also the host of Heart Matters, a very popular television show across Newfoundland and Labrador. Welcome to 100 Huntley Street, Mike.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Mike, going back to your years growing up in Birchie Bay, Newfoundland, and your exposure to God then in the church, what would you say your idea of God was like back in those early years?
Yeah, so, I grew up in a little tiny town. I think the population when I was growing up there was probably about 800. It's probably a little bit less now, but, faith church was a big part of our community. My family brought me to church every Sunday morning, every Sunday evening, Sunday school, all of that. So I grew up in that. And I can honestly say that, I went because I had to, so I endured it. Can't say I really enjoyed it. I was looking forward, honestly looking forward to the day where I could make my own decision. When I got old enough so that I would not have to ever attend church again. So that's kind of how I was feeling back then.
Wow. And, today you're a lead pastor. You are sharing about what God does in people's lives on a show, Heart Matters. So you're very out in the public eye in front of people sharing about God. Were you always outgoing, even if you didn't feel this connection to God when you were younger, but did you have this skill set of communicating?
No, absolutely not. I didn't. I was not like that at all. Growing up, I was extremely shy. It was one of the things that I really struggled with, having conversations with people, being in front of people, was, those things that I just struggle with on a daily basis. Having a conversation like this with cameras. I mean, if that was back then, I would die 1,000 deaths.
What do you think was the root of that kind of like insecurity, shyness, or low self-esteem? Can you see a cause when you look back? Sometimes we can't. It's just our personality.
Yeah. Like for me, I always struggle with, confidence, self-esteem. Growing up, especially into my, junior high and into the beginning of senior high years at school, I really struggle with that. I struggle with my own identity, my value. And I honestly did blame God, a lot for the way that I was. I was always smaller than everyone else. I was that kid that was always picked last for school, sports, and that sort of thing. And, and I remember lots of times, even like looking into the mirror and thinking like, oh, you're such a loser, and I struggled with that. And I would say that oftentimes even out loud.
You mentioned that it impacted your view of God, and, you were angry at him or blamed him for how he'd made you, but it also led to depression and isolation. What was your breaking point?
Yeah, I think my breaking point was probably, I recall it very clearly, vividly, on a youth night. I would still go to church, and I was involved in our local youth ministry. And I remember on one Wednesday night, I was in grade 11 at the time, that I really did have an encounter with God. And it was around an altar, it was in a worship time, and I felt, I think, for the very first time in my entire life up to that point, I really had an experience with the Holy Spirit. I had an experience with God that was real. And for me, it was really that moment, that night, that I think God altered my life. I always like to say this, that, it was at an altar that God altered my life. And he did. It was that moment.
And soon enough, you stumble on something called Circle Square Ranch.
Yeah.
A ministry.
Yeah.
Tell me more, because this is an interesting part of your story for many reasons.
Yeah. I mean, I knew about Circle Square Ranch from the TV show when I was growing up, and that's really all I knew about it. I did find it through a friend that Circle Square Ranch had a location in Manuels, just outside of St. John's. And I went there that first week, and I thought, okay, these guys, every single one of them, they've lost their minds. They're all crazy, And so I think within like 3 days, it was staff training week, and after the first 3 days, I'm thinking, I got to get out of here.
Like, were they outgoing? And...
Well, they were just outgoing, and they were happy, and they were singing and doing actions and doing skits. And I'm supposed to be a part of this because I'm a staff member. And I'm thinking, no way, it ain't happening. It was, you know, later on that week that, you know, I made the decision, okay, let's just give it a try. So I started to participate, and I got involved, and it was during that time, that staff training week, that I started to come out of my shell, started to do ministry, and in a way that I never ever did before. So it was really a big life altering time for me.
And soon enough, you know, you go to Bible college, but you also then go into youth ministry, and a lot of what you experienced at Circle Square Ranch, right, coming out of your shell, becoming dramatic, all these different things. Actually really play out in the youth ministry. So God makes, like, you know, a round hole for the round peg. He just finds your niche in a way.
Right.
Tell me a little more about those early years of youth ministry and how you saw these shifts in how God had changed you and how that played out.
Right, yeah. So, you know, a lot of the things that I learned at Circle Square Ranch, because after my first year, I went back to Bible college. Summertime, I'd go back to the ranch again. I went back to Bible college. Then I came back as program director. So I did that for about 3 or 4 years. I was program director. And so I graduated Bible college, went into ministry, and I started to really apply a lot of the principles and approaches that I learned at this camp into ministry life. I started to see a lot of growth and kids' lives, and so Circle Square Ranch was a major shifting point in my life and even how I did ministry.
You know, Mike, as the years went on, you know, you've become a lead pastor at a very big church, but that was from a pretty significant experience. Right. More of being called out of your comfort zone, again, answering God, but it was in the midst of a crisis.
It was.
Tell me a little more about where you are today and what happened.
Yeah. So I moved to Gander in 2002. I was youth pastor there for 8 years. I became associate after that for 11 years. And in the 19th year, it was on a Mother's Day that our lead pastor, following the morning service, he was out for a drive on the Trans-Canada, and it was just on his way back, just by 10 minutes outside of town, that he got into a motor vehicle accident and tragically died instantly. And so that was one of the most difficult things that I've ever faced, and certainly challenging for our congregation. And so again, I'm in this place where I'm, okay, God, what is it you're doing? And what am I supposed to do? So so I'm leading the church through this just because I had to step into that, leading the funeral and leading and ministering to the family and really just guiding the church through just impossible grief. And I remember one day I was in the office and I was sitting there with one of our staff members and just talking. I was like, what do we do now? And where do we go? And what is it God is leading us to do? And so we went into our lead pastor's office, and we're just sitting in his office, and he had just purchased about 4 or 5 brand new books that he was going to read. And as I'm sitting there, I never took notice of it before, but as I was sitting there, I looked at the book on the top of his pile, and it was called Passing the Leadership Baton. I picked it up, and on the back of the book, I just looked at it briefly, and it says, "How to lead a church." If you're the lead pastor, how to lead a church when the lead pastor has tragically died. Oh. I'm like, oh my goodness. I opened up to that chapter, and it said, the very first line was, it was in the month of May on a beautiful day, and all the similarities to what we're facing and going through at that exact moment. And the author begins to communicate a story of when they were trying to contact their lead pastor, and he wasn't answering the phone because he had died. And that was exactly what we had just gone through. I'm calling, I'm going through all of this, and the similarities are like unbelievable. But it was that moment, I think, in all of my own insecurities. Again, the insecurities, it always seems to to rear its ugly head in my life.
We're human.
Yeah, that's right.
A theme I see in your life, Mike, is God calling you out of your comfort zone and your willingness to say yes. So everything from serving in church when maybe you don't feel comfortable there, to speaking in front of people when you've tended to be shy, hosting on Heart Matters, leading a big congregation in a moment of crisis. What would you say to the person right now who's saying, I know God is calling me to something in particular, but it's going to take me out of my comfort zone? What would you say to them?
Yeah. Well, I would say, and this is what I've learned in my own life, is that, I've said this so many times to so many people, that, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. You know what I mean? And so I will be the first to admit, I am not qualified. I've got my own issues. I've got my own insecurities. I've got my own struggles. But the beautiful thing about this amazing relationship with God is that He qualifies. He helps those who are called. He calls you, and he equips you, and He helps you. He gives you the strength and the guidance that we all need. So for anyone who's watching today that feels like that, if you glean nothing else from this story, is the fact that God can use you in some way, and He will give you the strength, and He will equip you to live out the life that He's called you to live. And, we see that time and time again throughout the Bible. We see Moses, who had his own insecurities. We see David, who was just a shepherd boy. We see, a ragtag bunch of disciples who they had their own issues.
Yeah.
But those were the ones that God picked and He chose. And I love the scripture that says, that He puts this treasure in jars of clay, just broken, weak vessels. And He chooses those people. Why? To show that this power is not from us, that it's from Him. And, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that even in my own fear and insecurity, that I was willing to say, okay, God, let's see where this goes.
Well, I'm so thankful God chose you and that you said yes. And I know that people across Newfoundland and Labrador are thankful for that too, Mike, because you inspire a lot of people. Thank you for sharing your story with us today and all your time with us.
You're very welcome.
Oh, I just love Pastor Mike and his heart of authenticity. And you think about how he didn't feel like he had a lot to offer or a lot of worth. And then here he is, lead pastor of Gander Evangel Church. He's the host of Heart Matters, the TV show. And I feel like it's just a message for all of us who feel like maybe we don't have a lot to offer the Lord, but He has plans for us that are way bigger and more amazing than anything we could ever dream.
He certainly does. And, we just heard from Pastor Mike the other day, and he let us know that their new church initiative called Journey House, which is a men's shelter, is really going well. And they're helping many people move out of homelessness into a more stable life. And Mike let us know that he baptized one of the residents there recently. God is on the move across Canada through the lives of followers of Jesus. And isn't it wonderful, Cheryl, just to see what He's doing?
I love it. And we have more 100 Huntley Street coming to you on the road from across Canada. I hear there's puffins in our future.
There are.
There's a Jig's dinner. So whatever you're doing tomorrow, cancel your plans and join Laura and I in Niagara Falls.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a supporter-funded nonprofit organization and member of the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities. Thanks to faithful people like you, we are able to continue producing 100 Huntley Street. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R4M2, or visit crossroads.ca to learn more about our programs.
Hello, I'm Kevin Shepard, CEO of Crossroads and Yes TV. I have some exciting news about what God is doing here, and I want to invite you to join our special community by becoming a monthly member. And here's why you should. Inspiration. Our content uplifts and inspires, and as a monthly partner, you help share the hope of Jesus with so many. Impact. Crossroads is more than media. We provide 1,300 prayer interactions daily, offering comfort and biblical resources, and your membership makes an eternal impact. Global Missions. We respond to disasters and partner with NGOs for relief and rebuilding. By joining, you care for those in need. As a Crossroads member, you join like-minded community. You get exclusive content, friendly support. You can attend member events and stay informed. Becoming a member is simple. Choose your monthly level and payment method, and we hope you would join us, make a life-changing difference in people's lives today. Thank you for your commitment to our shared vision.